Hello, everyone. I'm alive now. Isn't that wonderful? I'm really excited for Halloween, as you can tell, and I'm also really excited for Floof. So I've combined the two things, and look, oh, Floof is Buzz Floofier, oh! It is really hot in this wiener, so let's just read your Halloween stories that you sent in. Oh, Floof. I don't know how we got into this such a spooky place. Oh, I'm so scared, Floof. Please hold me. Oh, there's monsters everywhere. Oh, no. Earlier this month, I asked you to send me some of your spooky stories. It's so hot in this wiener. Can I just like...
Nice on.
Okay. I don't know how anyone can stand being inside of a wiener that long. It's not sexual, okay? So a couple of days ago, I asked you to comment some of your spooky, scary stories, and my editor picked some of his favorite ones out. So hopefully the stories are scary, and hopefully we all pee our pants with fear, just in time for Halloween, everyone. Oh no, the orphanage burned down. Please save the children. Spooky story. Once I was home alone with my little brother, and we heard a noise outside. It was my dad. But my dad died 6 years ago. What? Scary story. I was mining, having a grand old time, and then I heard a hissing sound behind me. And then a loud explosion, and then black. Are you scared? You guys scared of these stories? Woo! It was like 2 a.m. and I was home by myself, and my phone rang. It was a telemarketer trying to sell me a dishwasher. What kind of monster would sell you a dishwasher at 2 in the gosh darn morning? I'm so scared, you guys. This one my mom told me. So my mom is a teacher at this large school that has about 2 or 3 floors. The school is very old and said to be haunted by many of the staff who work there. One day, my mom had to stay a bit late afterwards to grade papers. Her and one of her teacher friends were the only people there, not even any janitorial staff. Anyways, while they were grading papers, my mom heard this. Tapping noises near the back of her classroom. Her classroom is a rectangular room, which is actually very large, and one section at the back of the room is walled off like a closet. She decided to ignore the sound, and eventually she had to go out to her car and get something that she had left inside. However, when my mom was going back inside, she saw a woman standing in one of the windows, more specifically, her window. Now, she told me that it looked nothing like her friend, and she knew for a fact that they were the only ones there. She immediately went inside to alert her friend, and what she saw after searching around the building for anyone else, they found no one. That was my mom's first encounter with a ghost in her school. So the friend just disappeared? What? Guys, I'm spooked out. Maybe we shouldn't have gotten like these studio lights, because if it was dark right now, I'd be terrified. I didn't know who Joe was, and I asked, who's Joe? Worst day of my life, still gives me the chills. Spooky story. At my old house that I lived in till I was around 3, there was this field that cows lived in. One day while we were asleep, someone in my house heard noises coming from the field, so they looked outside to see what the noises were. When they looked out the window, they saw a group of people standing in a circle, doing some ritual, so they locked all the doors and windows and just watched until everybody left. In the morning, he told us what happened, so we went out to the field to see if there was anything out there. And we found S voodoo doll, torn pieces of clothing, and a spot that looked like there was a fire there. We believe that there was some cult out there because of the area we lived in. Needless to say, we moved pretty soon after that. Whose voodoo doll was it, actually? Like, if it was one of your family's voodoo dolls, then yeah, move out. But if it was like, I don't know, someone else's voodoo doll, then you know that they didn't mean to harm you. Scary story. My family used to live in an old house with a haunted clock. You may be wondering how we found out it was haunted. Well, we found out because every time we left the house, the ghost would mess with the clock and make it a difficult time than what it actually was. It's kind of cute he missed us though. What? You just had a broken clock? That's not a haunting. You didn't get haunted, you just had a... Huh? Sorry for pooping on your story, but like, I don't think that was a ghost. I think you just had a broken clock, bro. How come all these stories begin with spooky story or scary story? Like, I asked you to comment spooky stories, and literally all these comments are like, spooky story. Did my editor just Control F spooky story? Is that what he did? One night we were playing sardines in a night with the lights off, and my sister was hiding in the basement. No one thought to look there, but then she heard sounds of bare feet walking across the ground. Later, when everyone gave up because we couldn't find her, she asked, Who was in the basement? They almost found me. But no one said they had gone in the basement, and everyone was wearing shoes. And to this day, we are still convinced that there is a hobo living in our basement. I'm sorry for laughing, because I thought the story was going to go, we were, to this day, we know that our house was haunted, because this is a spooky, scary, like, supernatural bit. But I like that you were a lot more like, yeah, it was a hobo. 100% there's someone squatting in our house. It's still a scary story, you know. Frick. Spooky story. One time I had a choir concert, and when it ended around 7 to 8 p.m. and everyone was heading back to the choir room from the MPR, a lot of people saw a 6 to 8 foot tall shadow. Freaked out and started a stampede, so everyone was screaming, running, and laughing. Now it's a tradition to do this for every choir concert. What a nice, wholesome end to that very scary story. You saw a shadow of a tall man, and then you just made the most of it. That's what Halloween's all about. My mom once went to a family member's house, and every time she would go there, she would always hear whispering in her ear. She told this to her aunts, uncles, and cousins, but no one would believe her. Woo! It was an ASMR ghost. Spooky story. I looked in a mirror. No, be nice. You're great. One time when I went to a church youth group, we went to a haunted corn maze thing, and I cried so hard that the workers felt bad for me, broke character, and showed me the easy way out. The easy way out of any corn maze is just right through the corn. Spooky story. I have a triple bunk bed, and one night at 12 a.m., my cat walked in front of the light of the first bunk. I was on top, so I wasn't expecting it, but when she walked in front, it projected a giant shadow of a giant animal onto the ceiling, and it scared me half to death. That's a fun little story. You just sit. First of all, actually, wait, a triple bunk bed? How cool are you, dude? Spoopy story. Me and my cousins were in the pool one night until we felt like we were seeing things like shadows passing from a blink of the eye. We then decided to get out because we were scaredy cats. We were putting all the stuff back in the messy shed until a big roach came out and went back in to be like, yo, you messing with my crib? We were spooked, but I had to close the shed door. Just as I was about to touch it, it legit growled at me from inside. And then we ran back inside the house. The end. Moral of the story, kids, don't mess with hissing cockroaches' homes. Gross. Sorry if I misspell anything. I am dyslexic. Well, you understand. Dyslexics of the world, untie! This is the scariest thing that I have ever experienced. It was a dark, but not stormy night. I was 12. Forgetting to feed the rabbits in the day, I had to go out in the shadows. I listened to music on my tablet to help me be brave. Yeah, I remember the new song Glow by Britt Nicole. When I got over the hill in our backyard, it was past the Wi-Fi connection, so coincidentally my music stopped. I was scared, but the rabbits needed food. Halfway through pouring the rabbits' food into the rabbit bowl, I froze. Hearing a noise, thinking I had psyched myself out, I ignored it. But no, I hear it again, like shuffling of feet. Shaking, I took my flashlight and scanned the perimeter. See? Nothing. You're being silly. Ah! About a foot away, I saw a man with a freakish, weird grin, stiff as a board, towering over me. Holy crap, this story just got real. I thought it was just, I was feeding my bunnies and I'm afraid. Now there's just a dude? What? Stiff as a board, towering over me and staring straight at me. My first instinct was to scream like bloody murder, but as I let out a blood-curdling scream, the hardest I'd ever screamed, I realized I knew his face. My big bro! I don't know if it was my very real scream or my horror-struck face, but he realized quickly he truly shook me up. I guess that was the job of a big bro. He did give me a hug and we walked back to the house. Well, that was my story. Hope it makes it in. Can't wait to see the vid. Love ya! Well, congrats, bro. It made it in. Jeez, that was good storytelling, I just want to point out. It, like, set up the scene. Dark, but not stormy. It had the problem, like, the feeding the rabbits, and then the Wi-Fi cut out, so there added more tension, and then you see a person's, like, honestly, dude, this is a well-written story. One time, my little brother was trick-or-treating by himself, and when he came back home, he said, "The big man tried to kill me," and the next day, I heard there was a murder in my neighborhood, and that scared my brother for the next 4 years. Yeah, first of all, you're not supposed to go trick-or-treating by yourself if you're under, like, the age of 8, you know? Actually, like, you should never go trick-or-treating by yourself. Jeez, this one's a little dark. This is just supposed to be a fun Halloween video, not like I escaped a murder. Actual spooky story. When I was 11, I started to have bad insomnia. I would be kept awake by different noises at first. Usually it was just thumps and knocks on the wall and my furniture, but after a while of hearing the knocks, I started to hear a watch beep. A few years prior, my brother had buried a watch right below my window, but I never heard it beep before. My insomnia got so bad at one point that I only got a couple of hours of sleep a night. I remember one particular night, I couldn't stop crying because I was so tired and all I wanted to do was sleep, but I couldn't. This is when the tapping started. Every night, right before I fell asleep, it felt like someone poked me in the back of my arm to wake me up. I know for a fact that it wasn't my brother because I had my own room and I never heard the door open. When I moved out of that house, all of it stopped. I could finally sleep through the night and I never felt something poke me again. A few years after, me and my mom were talking and apparently she had experienced sleep paralysis multiple times and she felt a force near her face. Me and my brother had always been terrified of one room in our house too. So yeah, pretty sure my childhood was haunted. A lot of other visitors to the house told us that they thought it was haunted too. Sleep tight, everyone. Hope none of you have insomnia, and I hope no sleep paralysis demons haunt you. Man, frick, dude. That sucks. Spooky story, bread. This one isn't scary for me, but it is for my uncle. So when my uncle was younger, my grandparents made him watch Child's Play. He was terrified every night. And then one night, my grandparents bought a good guy doll. He was terrified of it, so every night he threw it in the trash in an attempt to get rid of it. Then when my grandparents went to throw something away, they found the doll and returned it to his room. So you can imagine how terrified he felt when he kept seeing a doll from a horror movie you try to get rid of keeps returning to your room. Yeah, I wonder if the grandparents knew what they were doing, right? Because this guy, he's throwing away the doll, and the grandparents are like, well, we're just gonna make sure he doesn't throw it away. My spooky Halloween story. It was a normal October 14th. I still didn't have a costume, so usually me and my mom make our own. But this year, I wanted to be something inflatable. That's such a weird thing to say. My mom said, okay, so we looked on Amazon and found a few options. A unicorn, a hippo, a cow, and some other ones. Me and my mom came to the decision it was going to be the cow. The next day it came. I was super excited. I tore the box into hundreds of pieces, put batteries in it, and then I started to inflate like it was supposed to. I went upstairs afterwards to send a picture to my friend, but then I had to use the bathroom. So I tried unzipping it, but I couldn't find the zipper. So I tried unzipping it, but I couldn't find the zipper. I wiggled, I tore a little, then it happened. I peed in my costume. Ew! What? That's so sad. The very first thing you did in your costume was pee in it. I just want to say that this person wrote neighborhood with like neighbor space hood, and then someone is some space one. Okay, when I was on Halloween, we went to the neighborhood next to our, and there is someone in this really creepy costume causing my little brother to run away. I am the fastest, so I catch up to him, but I can't find my parents. And then this one guy came up to me and said, "Can I help you?" And I told him where I lived, and he brought me to my house. My parents were standing in the front of my house, and I turn around to thank him, but see him running away with the police helicopter light on? What? Is that real? Was the police helicopters looking for this like pedophile? And what made him run away? Was it him seeing the parents, or was it the helicopter? That's spooky, man. I'm glad you're safe. Spooky story. I sent several job applications every day and I haven't gotten any interviews. Me and my dad went trick or treating and we came to a house with a clown handing the candy. Mind you, I'm scared of clowns, so we walked up the porch. I went to tech for the candy and he grabbed my hand. Long story short, my dad almost punched him. How young are my fans? One day, returning home late from the store, I stumbled across a $20 bill, and most people think, oh, a $20 bill, but I realized I'm in the middle of nowhere, and live alone. How the heck is there a $20 bill almost right next to my house? So I do a stakeout the next night and see there are figures handing each other light packages and realize, holy frick, people are doing drugs outside my house. They probably assume I was gone because the walk to the store is about 5 miles. So I grab my shotgun and yell, if you don't leave on the count of 3, I will shoot. So they ran. I never saw them again. Okay, so I guess my fans aren't that young. Spooky story. One night, a woman was heading home from work. When she got on the freeway, she noticed a car behind her. The woman switched lanes and so did the car. The woman turned off the freeway with the car trailing her, except now the car kept flickering its headlights. The woman sped up. She was terrified. When the woman turned onto her street and the car followed, lights still flickering on and off, she began to panic. The woman pulled into her driveway and the car stopped. Okay, if you're being followed, don't pull into your driveway. Start going for some loop-de-loops, try and get this guy off your tail. I pulled into her driveway and the car stopped on the side of the street. She opened the car door and ran towards the house. Ma'am, wait! The man yelled, cut off by the woman slamming the door. The woman immediately called the police, but was informed that they were already heading to her house. When the police arrived, they informed the woman that the man in the car was following her because there was a man in her back seat holding a knife! The woman was so terrified, how could she not have noticed a man in her back seat? The police entered her car and found the knife shoved through the driver's seat. Wow, is that a true story? Or is that a creepypasta? Scary story, blinking and breathing manually. Dang it! I shared a room with my sister when I was younger. One day in the morning, while we were getting ready for school, my sister said she felt a heavy pressure on her chest that whole night, as though someone was pressing on her. Only until she said that did I remember that I had woken up in the middle of the night to hear laughing and looked over at my sister's bed, and there was a sort of shadow-looking man just sitting on her and laughing. What? How did you not remember that? I'm being pessimistic, but frick, that's scary. Ugh. So this is more like haunted than Halloween, but same diff. So I was alone in my house after school and I had locked everything up. All the windows were closed and doors shut and locked. My younger siblings had a choir practice that night, so I was going to be alone for a while. It was probably around 8 when this happened. I was in the back room studying, then all of a sudden I heard this horrible crash. When I went to look, the front door and back door were wide open. Not only was the door open, but the window was open too. The curtains were moving even though there was no window outside at the time. I looked around for some explanation of why it happened, but to this day, I have never found one. I think you just got a burglar. Or a ghost. And the last spooky story, there's a Visco girl living in my basement, help. Wow. Okay, I think I'm good with all the spooky stories. I don't think I'm gonna sleep for tonight or any of the other nights for that matter. Look, I got goosebumps on my arm. I'm gonna cuddle with Floof for a little bit to cool me down. I don't know how these creepypasta channels are able to sleep at night, knowing all the scary things that go on in the world. So thank you all for submitting your spooky, scary Halloween stories. Hope you all have a very spooky Halloween. Remember to be safe, as a lot of those stories were not anything paranormal. It was just, there's some weird people out there, and so you need to stay safe while trick-or-treating. Thank you all for watching. I hope you all have a good night's sleep, and wear your seatbelt.